welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I actually want to say thank you to all of my subscribers, my old subscribers and the new ones. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate the thumbs up you give to me. I appreciate all of your comments and your reviews. I appreciate it a lot, the good ones, the bad ones. Yeah, I appreciate all of them because it actually helps me and drives me to do better. So if you have not subscribed to my channel already, please do so. Hit on the like and the subscribe button just beside, and then hit also the notification bell just beside to get an update whenever I upload a new video. So that's just like basically the essence. And then this video that I'm about to do, if you actually find it helpful, please hit on the like button. I really want to know that you enjoyed the video, and then you could drop a comment also for me. I would really appreciate that. So today I'm actually going to be showing you how to cut this off-shoulder puff pencil puff sleeve. It's actually, someone actually sent it to me on Facebook from the subscriber request and series. So like I said, I have tons and tons of pictures on both on Facebook and Instagram. So like I said, you could drop a picture for me on Facebook or on Instagram. On Instagram it's at stylishnaija. Then on Facebook, it's Stylish Naija Sewing Group. So you could drop a picture for me. And whenever I am less busy, because I have loads of them, so with time, I just keep treating them as they come in. So that's just basically. So don't worry, your request is going to be treated. So the first thing I am going to do when making a sleeve like this, first of all you measure the full length of your fabric. That's the full length of the sleeve, and then how much puff do you want on top of it. So these are just like the two basic measurement that you actually need in making a sleeve like this. So the first thing I'm going to do, the length of the sleeve, I'm actually going to be making use of 25 inches. That's from the top, and then I added 1 inch or two. I added 1 inch, so it's making 26 inches to just to fold. So that's just it. So I'm just going to cut it off now. So I'm going to cut it out. So now I have on the full length of my sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw out the basic pencil sleeve pattern. So that's what I'm just going to do. So I'm going to make use of my pattern here to cut it out. So I'm just going to do that. So I've gotten the armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do now, measure my bicep area. That's this part of your arm. That's your bicep area. So you measure it and then you divide it into 2. So that's just what I'm going to do basically. And then you measure the down part of close to your wrist. So you just measure it here. I have loads of pencil sleeve on my channel, so you could just go and check it out. I actually don't want to really deliberate on that. So I have my basic sleeve laid out. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to open it up and then I'll mark the center of it. So and the center of it, that's from the top to half of, that's the elbow part, is actually 13 inches because what I used initially was 17 inches. So I have 13 inches because it is 20, sorry, because I measured 26 inches initially. So half of 26 automatically is 13. So this is 13 inches now. So I'll just rule a straight line on it. Just to, the essence is just for me to demarcate it, to know. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be cutting a flame. For this flare, you could decide to do it in two ways. You could decide to cut a 360-degree flare. That's, you fold your fabric into four and then you cut, or you could decide to do a 180-degree flare, which is you just fold it into two and then you cut. So it depends on how puffy you actually want your sleeve to be. So that is what will determine how much you are actually going to cut. And then for the top part of this sleeve, what I'm going to be doing, because you could see the picture of the one that I have up there, it was actually pleated. So since it's going to be pleated, you will determine how much and fullness you actually want on it. So that would help determine what you're actually going to measure. So for this, I'm going to measure 20 inches. So when you divide 20 into 4, you have 5 inches. So I'm just going to measure it out and check first before I cut. I'm actually not cutting. I'm not going to cut it yet. So I'm just trying to measure it out. After measuring, so I'm not cutting it yet. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut the puff. And in cutting the puff, you could do this in two ways. You could either use the 360-degree flare to cut out your puff, depends on how puffy you want it to be, or you could use the 180 degrees to cut out your puff. If you are going to use the 180 degrees, so that means you are just going to fold your fabric like this into two like this, and then you would cut out the amount of what you want. But if you're going to be using the 360-degree flare, you're going to fold your fabrics into four like this, and then you cut out a full flare. So that the time you choose on which one you actually want to do. So this, I think I'm going to be using the 180-degree flare for this. So I'm just going to take my fabric and fold it now. So I'm going to measure and try and get out my measurements right. So for the top part of my sleeve, I'm going to be making use of 18 inches. So this part, it depends. If you are not going to be pleating it, if you are not going to be pleating the top part of your sleeve, you measure it and make sure it is the same measurement as your round armhole. But if you are going to be adding some little pleats to it, you could decide to increase it. So mine, I'm going to be making use of 9 inches, which is 18 inches. So I'm just going to mark it like this, because I'll add some little pleats to it. So I'm just going to measure it, mark it out like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure, you remember the 13 inches, that's this 13 inches mark that we made. That's the half of the sleeve. I'm going to measure it and then add some couple of inches to it. You could add between 4 to 6 inches. It depends on what you want. So this is my 13 inches here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to be adding 4 inches. So that's just like almost the amount of fabric that I have left. So I'm using 17.5. I'll use the other the other half inch. I'll use it to stitch it. So I'm just going to measure it round like this. So I'm just going to trim it out now. So you could see what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do, if I want more puff on it, you could just decide to come down a bit. So for this side, I'm going to be reducing it a bit from this side because I don't want it sagging out. So I'm just going to reduce it with 2 inches. Just take out 2 inches from this side. I'll take out 2 inches. So like this, because I just don't want it to sag, to fall down. That's from the, after coupling it from the center point. I don't want it sagging out like this. You see some of them, they used to sag out, to just sag out. So that's just the essence. When you take out that excess, it won't sag out from this point where you join. So I'm just going to cut that out. So and then I'll notch on the center of my flay. I'll just notch the middle here and then notch this point also. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to, you could decide to do this in two ways. You could decide to just start from this point and then pleat from this half point like this. You pleat this to this point and then pleat this to this point, or you could decide to do the pleats. You could decide to do the pleats and then come back, do that. You could decide to pleat it separately and then you join it. So I'm just going to take it to my machine now and then I'll show you how to do it. From this notch point, this is the center. This is the center. So we're going to be notching. I'm going to be pleating the whole of this part on this way and then I'll pleat this other part on this way. So you could see the pencil part of the sleeve is laid out straight like this. So I'll take this other part like this. This part will be facing this way. So I'm going to be pleating. This is the notch part. I'm going to be pleating the whole of this entire part from this center to this end. So I'm just going to fold like this. And then when I get to this end, I'll make sure they are aligning. So just back stitch. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this other side. So guys, so you can see I finished stitching on it. So I finished stitching the first one. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to place my sleeve like this. Because this is an off-shoulder sleeve, I'm going to be trimming out on this top part. I want it to be a little bit straight. So I'm going to trim it out, because I'm still going to be adding another band to it to fit into my round armhole. Since it's an off shoulder, that's to fit into the off shoulder part, that's this bicep part. So I'll just trim the high part out of it. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get the middle of this and then I'll pleat the other part on it. So I'll get the middle. So this is like the midpoint. I'm just going to take it like this and then I'll pleat this side round just the way I did to the other one. So but the pleats here, they are not as much as the first ones. So I repeat the same thing over the other side. So I'm going to cut it out and then trim. So guys, you could see, so I finished joining the top part. So since this one is an off shoulder, if it was just the normal regular sleeve, so all you have to do is you just fix it like this. You just fix it this way and then you take your full sleeve measurement and then you attach like this. But since this is an off shoulder, the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be cutting out strap of about 3 inches and thereabouts. So I'm just going to measure it to be very sure. You just fold your band, just make a band like this. You fold it and then you make use of your sleeve your bicep circumference, which mine I'm going to be making use of 10 inches. So that's for the length. So the width, like I said, 3 inches or 2.5 inches, which is okay. So I think I should go with 2.5 inches. Is okay. So I'm just going to I'm just going to measure now Measuring out for the round armhole. I'm measuring out 10 sleeve, sorry, 10 inches. So I'm just going to mark out 14 first, because I want to get everything out straight before I cut out. So I'm just going to mark it. After trimming, I'll trim it to the original, and I'll trim it to 10 inches. So I'm just going to measure out properly. So this is like my 2.5 inches strap. So you could decide to make use of 2.5 is okay. So after stitching it now becomes like 2 inches. So I'm going to measure out now. So when you divide into 2, you have 5 inches. So I'm just going to measure it out properly. So this is my 5 inches, and then this, I'll use this 1 inch as my allowance. So I'm just going to trim now. And then on the 5-inch point, I'm going to put a notch on it, so I will know. Okay guys, so I finished cutting out the strap. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to achieve the off shoulder part. Since I'm going to be fitting 10 inches into this part, because like I said, the off shoulder part, that's the bicep part, is 10 inches. Yours could be 12, it could be 14 inches. So I'm just going to measure from this point, then I'll curve out the remaining armhole that will fit into the dress from the armpit side. So I'm just going to measure out my 5 inches. So this is my 5 inches that will fit into my sleeve part. And then you remember our normal sleeve, what I used initially for my round arm, what is remaining now. So this is what was remaining. So I'm just going to carve it out following the armhole part that is inside, and you could turn it and then curve it out from the inside, or you could just decide to just curve it out like this. That's the armhole part. So this is the part where you attach to the sleeve now, and then this is the part that will be the off shoulder part. So I'm just going to trim it out carefully. I hope you understand what I said. So I'm just going to go over it again. The round armhole, that's the round sleeve the round sleeve circumference is, I'm going to be making use of 10 inches. That's from this point to this point, which is 10 inches. So when you divide 10 into 2, you have 5 inches. So I'm going to fold my strap into 2 and then mark out on the 5 inches. So that's on the side. So, and then because after fixing, this part is going to be out. This is the off shoulder part that is going to be out. So you need the remaining parts of your armhole, of your round armhole. That's your armhole. You need the remaining part of your armhole that will fit into your armpit side. So you subtract what you already have. That's what your bicep measurement. You subtract it from your round armhole. If your round armhole is 9 inches, for instance, or 10 inches. If your round armhole is 10 inches, that's round like this, is 10 inches. You will remove the 5 inches. That's the 5 inches that is going to fit into this point, because this strap is going to be standing here. Please, I'm just explaining because I want you to really understand it. So that's just the essence. Please don't think I'm talking too much. You know, this is 5 inches. So this is 10 inches. So the remaining parts will fit into your sleeve. It will fit into the armpit, just like this. So that's what I'm just trying to explain to you. So this part now, that's the round side, that is 5 inches, and then the remaining part to form the remaining part of your armhole. So I'm just going to trim it out like this nicely. So I'm going to trim it out nicely. So this is the side that will fit into my sleeve now. This remaining part will fit into my sleeve. So I'm just going to join this part, and then I'll attach this part to this point. So I'm just going to do that. I'll join this part first. I'll join this part first from here to here. That's from the beginning of my armhole. I'll join it. I'm just going to close it up now. Okay guys, so you could see I finished and stitching it, but I've not stitched on the down part. So I just want to continue. I want to finish with the top part before I stitch the down part. So I'm going to just turn it out now. Okay, so you could see our sleeve, we're almost done. So this is the top part. So this is the part where from this place where the pleat is, that's going to be the off shoulder part. That's going to be this part. Why this part is the remaining part where I'm going to be, where you attach to your sleeve, that's to your armpit. So this point now, from this point to this point is 10 inches. When you divide it into two, is 5 inches. So I'm just going to measure out my strap now, and then I'll make I'll measure the size out, and then I'll mark the center. I'll mark the center and then get the center of this one also. I'll get the center of the sleeve also. So I'm going to just sew it on it. So I'll measure it out, the exact measurement that I want. I'm just going to cut out the remaining excess. So I'm going to pleat. There's no point pleating again, not pleat. So I'm just going to stitch this now, so you could see this point. I'll stitch this point to this end and then stitch this one to this end. So I'm just going to do that now. So guys, you can see what I have now. So I'm just going to measure it now to my bicep and measurement. So I finished attaching it. So what I'll do now, just measure my bicep measurement, which is 10 inches that I've been using. When you divide it into two, you have 5 inches. So I'm just going to measure. So I have my 5 inches here, and then put half an inch that I'll use to stitch it to the top part of the sleeve. So I'm just going to mark it like this, and then I'll just curve it along on this armhole line. I'm just going to curve it along like this. You have to be careful, because if you trim it out too much, you might run into a problem. It might become too small, too big. So the next thing, I'm going to take it back to my table. Okay, before then, I'm going to seal up the sleeve. So you take your remaining measurements of your sleeve, and then you seal it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and seal up the sleeve now. Okay guys, welcome back. So you could see I'm done with the sleeve. So all you have to do is you just unlock the edge of your sleeve. That's this part. You just lock it up, and then there's something I'm going to explain to you right now. So this is now the armhole where we are going to be fitting into our sleeves. For this sleeve, you have a room to do anything. If, for instance, the armhole opening that you created here is too small, all you have to do is you just extend it. So you could decide to extend it. You could just decide to extend it like this. If the armhole opening here, if it's too small, you could extend it to this point. So you have enough room to do whatever you want to do. So you could just extend it maybe by 1 inch or 2 inch, and then you trim it out and make sure it fits properly. And then if the armhole opening, maybe after wearing the dress, you find out that maybe the off shoulder is sagging, maybe it's too deep, it's coming down too much, you still have room. All you have to do is you just reduce it a bit. That's from the top. That means on the armhole that you created is too big, so you just stitch up a little bit more, so it makes it firm. So that's just the good thing with this sleeve. So you could really manipulate the armhole, the round armhole, very well. So you could really manipulate the armhole whichever way you choose to. So I'm just going to show you how it's going to be now. So when you put it like this, all you have to do is from this point. So this is the point. So let me just assume that because this is a sleeveless dress, so you're just going to start stitching from this point, and then you stitch up to wherever, so you could see what I have. So I'm just going to use my dress. So you stitch it from the down part of the armpit. you stitch it to this point. So it depends on how high you want it. If you still want it, if you feel that the shoulder, because what you could even use it as a coat shoulder. You could see what I'm putting on. It has already formed a coat shoulder. I actually have a style like that. So if you want a coat shoulder, so you could even do this. You could less like this. But if it's a regular off the shoulder, so you just connect it from this point and then you stop here and then do the same thing with the back part of your sleeve. So at the end of the day, you find your sleeve is looking so beautiful. So like I said, if you want more puff up here, all you have to do is just increase it and then you pleat. And then if this down part, if you feel you want more, you could do more. If you want less, you could do less. And then if you want your sleeve to stand properly, because this one is actually a taffeta, so that is why you could see it's just not very firm. But if I actually wanted to make it firmer, all you have to do is you iron your soft gum on it and then you line it, and then you see it will become firmer. So that's just basically how you actually achieve this sleeve. So I know I have really talked a lot on this video. I have. So guys, I've now come to the end of this illustration. So if you find what I did helpful, please do not hesitate to hit on the like